I'm joined this morning by Andrew Tunks and Stuart Gale from Meteoric Resources. Morning.
G'day, Andrew.
Hey, Andrew, always good to see you, mate.
Good to see you both. Look, Andrew, firstly, you've announced this week here Stuart's come on, assumed the role of MD and Chief Exec. What's this transition? What does this restructure reflect?
Andrew, I think it reflects the maturing of our project. So still early stages, doing our studies, but it's very clear to us that this is going to be a mine, and the issues are turning from technical issues as we advance our technical studies. It is a very simple mine. It is a very simple process flow sheet. So we're turning our focus from those technical things into how do we finance it, how do we promote it, how do we get true value for our shareholders. And I think Stuart has an amazing corporate experience, Wesfarmers, FMG, CEO and MD at Resolute, and then finally in the critical mineral space at MinRes. He has the exact pedigree that we've been looking for to really take us from, we were an explorer, then we were doing our studies, but we're really progressing rapidly towards development and production. And I think Stuart's the guy. So I'm going to hand over and he can answer the rest of your questions, mate.
Well, Stuart, just to expand on what Andrew's saying, tell us a bit more about your corporate background and what you find exciting about Caldeira.
Oh, well, Andrew, look, I've spent a long time in the resources space and some fantastic experiences across the Fortescue expansion, funding of the huge expansion at Fortescue at that point in time. Resolute also had a bit of work to do from a funding perspective, and then more recently at Mineral Resources, sort of funding, sort of thinking about listing, and doing a lot of work on the corporate side in terms of looking at OEM engagement. So I've had a fairly broad corporate experience, I suppose, across all of that. But Meteoric is just a fantastic asset. It's an amazing resource, and it's got such huge potential to grow, both from a resource perspective. The drilling results we're getting at the moment just add to that sort of 740 odd million tonnes that we've got of high grade resource. But I think the opportunities to go beyond that are also really amazing and something that we need to focus on as we develop that sort of corporate outlook moving forwards, and particularly looking at the downstream side of the business.
You mentioned resource growth. Of course, financing and offtake also priorities for the project.
Yeah, absolutely. It's we're still in the very early stages. We're working towards delivering our pre-feasibility study, and of course, as soon as that pre-feasibility study drops, then that's the time that we start talking to those financiers. But we've already put in place a couple of non-binding offtake agreements. So that shows that the market for a mixed rare earth carbonate is absolutely out there, and people are keen to secure that production into the future. I think there's opportunities from a strategic partnering perspective. So folks who are interested either at the equity, at the offtake, potential for prepayments, those sorts of things. But Andrew and I have been in Brazil now for the last couple of weeks, and the Brazilian government is just super keen on this project, and they're very, very focused on the next steps in terms of the ecological, climate change, EV, electrification story. So we're getting massive support from the Brazilian government, and they've been fantastic in terms of trying to bring together all components of the supply chain, which is something that we really haven't seen in any other governments around the world. So, tip your hat to the Brazilian team for that.
Well, I suppose, Stuart, just as a final thought, you mentioned strong government support. Why do you reckon there should be strong investor support for the project also?
Well, I think it speaks for itself in many respects, Andrew. We've got a great resource. It's a low cost and low capital intensity project. So in terms of the development, our scoping study speaks to a 5 million tonne per annum plant. That's going to be low capital intensity relative to other projects. But what's really important is when we look at the ongoing operations, and we're right out on the left-hand side of the global cost curve. So what that means is that through any cycle, and that's what I'm particularly interested in, through any cycle, Meteoric is going to be washing its face. So, I think that's something that stands out. And of course, the other thing which we've touched on is just the upside that this project has. Our resource sits from 6 of 69 licenses. We've got an enormous potential to grow that resource base, and with that, the production. So, watch this space. We can't talk about it too much at the moment because we've got an awful lot of work to do. But just bear in mind, we've really only been at this for 18 months. So it's a pretty short time frame to have come as far as we have to deliver the environmental updates, environmental impact studies, community work that we've done has been great. And to get the Brazilian government buy-in and be sort of their poster child for the resources industry is fantastic, and a testament to the great work of the team here in Brazil.
Our investors would know that we were included in the Brazil investment platform last week. That we were the only mining project named in the whole country, and the other companies that were named but for non-mining, Vale, FMG, massive companies, to be named in that document with support of international banks, the BNDES, the Brazilian Development Bank, and the federal government, just shows how seriously we're being taken here. We've had our struggles with the underlying metal price over the last 6 months. That's changed substantially. That's yet to reflect in our share price, but we believe that this company and this project has a world-class future. So let's go.
Stuart, Andrew, good to see you both. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, Andrew.
See you later.